Hello everyone, my name is Angelo Sikabingi, 7 years old and a student of TVA1. And I'm here to discuss about affirming the consequence. Okay, let's get started. Now, before we start, we have to know the important parts on this topic, which is to know what is affirming the consequence, formal descriptions, and some examples for you to learn or to learn how to identify what is the affirming consequence. Affirming the consequence is sometimes called converse error, fallacy of the converse, or confucius of necessity and sufficiency. It is a formal fallacy of taking a true conditional statement. Example, if the lamp were broken, then the room would be dark. And invalidly inferring its converse. The room is dark, so the lamp is broken, even though the converse may not be true. It arises when the consequence, the room would be dark, has more than one of the possible antecedents. For example, the lamp is not plugged in, or the lamp is not working order, but is switched off. Converse error are common in everyday thinking and communication and can result from, among the other causes, communication issue, misconception about logic, and failure to consider other causes. Affirming the consequence is the action of taking a true statement, P implies Q, and invalidly concluding its converse, Q implies P. The name of affirming consequent derives from using the consequent as the big letter Q of P implies Q to conclude the antecedent as a big letter P. It also have logical form in two different types, which is valid and invalid. Valid. Premise 1. If P then Q. Premise 2. P. Then the conclusion is therefore Q. And in the invalid, premise 1, if P then Q, then the premise 2 is Q. Then the conclusion is therefore P. Now let's go to examples. Example 1. If taxes are lowered, I will have more money to spend, which is the first premise. The second premise is I have more money to spend. And then the conclusion is therefore taxes must have been lowered. The explanation is I could have more money to spend simply because I give up on nonsense things that only spend my money to nothing. Now, let's talk about the summary. To summarize it all, I've shortened it for all to understand easily. Now, the affirming the consequent is a fallacious form of reasoning in formal logic that occurs when the minor premise of a propositional syllogism affirms the consequence of a conditional statement. Consequent. The propositional component of a conditional proposition whose truth is conditional, or simply put, what comes after the then in an if-then statement. Then the antecedent. The propositional component of a conditional proposition whose truth is conditioned for the truth of the consequent, or simply put, what comes after the if and an if-then statement. Now let's have a short activity. Give the correct answer from the question provided. Now, number 1. What does the P stand for? I will give you 5 seconds to answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The P stand for the antecedent. Let's have a look in the second question. What does the Q stand for? I will give you 5 seconds to answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The answer for the second question is that the Q stands for the consequent. Now, let's go to number 3. What is the two types of its logical form? I will also give you 5 seconds to answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Well, the answer is that we know that the affirming consequent has the two types of logic, which is valid and invalid. And I hope that you answered all questions correctly. That's all for this video, and thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.